Now we should be golden, but let me double check.
It says we are live for 7 seconds.
Yep. All right. So we were good there. We're golden on that end. So, first of all, welcome back to another episode On the Line with Curse Bank Catfishing. This particular episode, I'm doing it from a hotel room. So go figure. And I have my good buddy Matt Carter from Just Dragon here with me. Matt, go ahead and introduce yourself. Say hi.
Hey, everybody. I am Matt with Just Dragon. Usually, I would film something like this downstairs in my little packing / studio area, but I am currently quarantined with COVID now for the last 48 hours, and I'm going stir crazy. So I'm glad that he requested that I come on this live today.
We had to put him to work one way or another. So now we didn't really have a quote unquote topic, and more or less, this is going to be open discussion about something that myself and Matt and anybody else who's been in the content creator space, they kind of see on a regular. Uh, we'll ease into that conversation, but just as a little backstory, because almost every guest I've had on here, I tell them how I met them, etc., and all this other stuff. If you know me from TikTok or you know Matt from TikTok, you know that's where we met. Uh, Matt called my bluff several years ago. I told him to come fishing whenever he wanted to, and a week later he called me and said, "I'm on my way." Showed up at the doorstep, and the rest has been history.
I do remember that. We met like 9 p.m. on a live at some point. You made a towel for me with my crazy name. I drove to his house, and lo and behold, the older houses in West Virginia are super short. I have to duck through his doorways.
You're just above average height, Matt. So keep in mind too with that playing a role in it. Me and Matt had never met in person up until this point. I didn't know that Matt was like 6'3", 6'5", somewhere in that ballpark. And my ceilings are abnormally low. I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, and I can touch my ceiling. Matt did have to duck to get through my doorways, and it was just a very comedic experience. Now, after that initial, whatever you want to call it, where we met, me and Matt ended up talking a lot more. In fact, now you've only come to West Virginia to fish with me one time, but every time we would go to CatCon, I'm the halfway point for Matt.
Yep.
So Matt would meet at my house, and then we would take my vehicle the rest of the way to CatCon. And I will just call a spade where I can here. I showed Matt how to drag, and I created an absolute monster because that is all he does now.
So, in turn, I can sort of credit you with starting Just Dragon pretty much. Um, it was, hey, there's a local tournament trail happening here. Would you like to come fish it with me? He drove, I think, 3.5 hours to here, is
Yeah,
it? Or 4.5?
it's 3.5.
He drove it, came down here. We both went to Mad Cats Outdoors. He got himself a set of spread and planer boards. I got a set of spread and planer boards. He showed me one time, and then from there, I was hooked, man. I had just recently started cat fishing. I've bass fished, I've done all sorts of fishing. Catfish eluded me pretty hard on anchor. The second that I learned how to properly read maps, my sonar, and drag baits, it was over from there. And I will tell you, 95% of the times I drag baits. I did give him a call earlier today and tell him I'm going to blow his mind. I'm going to start living on the rope a little bit more. Um, I think I have a good feeling of this lake and what they're doing. I drag to find out what they're doing, and then you can target after that. Dragging is amazing for catching numbers and finding out where the fish are. Anchoring is where you're going to produce more of your state records. Of course, you can get your big ones dragging baits, but if you really want to, you're going to have to sit and wait on them big donkeys, man. And
Well,
it's hard for me to say that as the owner of a dragging weight company, you know?
it's all about just different tactics and different bodies of water. When I started fishing that tournament trail with Matt, so Matt never fished a tournament. I'd fished a few. I know a body of water that I am not familiar with. I'm going to drag it. I'm going to scan on Navionics because my boat's obviously not in the water yet. I don't know the territory. And I believe at the time, Matt's sonar was only capable of, I think it was 2D, right? That's all you had.
No, I had 2D and side imaging, and actually at that point you are right. I only had
No,
2D.
you just
I didn't
had
even have
2D.
I only had 2D. I did not have GPS, and I couldn't tell our speed. So yeah, we
Yeah.
were like basically throwing something at the wind, and hopefully it didn't hit us.
We're just blind dragging because that's the only thing that we could see with Matt's sonar was you would get a return, but you could see how deep we were, and that was all we had. Additionally, when we first started, because Matt didn't have a trolling motor, and he bought one off of the marketplace used, and it was a foot pedal control one with leads that were like this long. So somebody had to sit at the front of the boat and steer the trolling motor, and I personally couldn't do it. So Matt had to do it, and I manned the rods. So it's been a learning curve. Well, we can both agree on that. Matt has gone above and beyond expectations with trolling motors and sonar, and he's really good with everything now. And we're not stretching our legs out to try and steer with a toe pedal. Which, by the way, I think first or second tournament that trolling motor took an absolute crud. I mean, it fell to pieces. But
Yep.
Matt's first ever couple of tournaments, we were still always, I believe, in the middle of the pack every time.
We were, and it's because we would drag because it was still warm. So Lake Norman is a huge pleasure boater lake. It was still warm, so the pleasure boaters were like half put away and half coming out, and it was like a freak weekend where it was nice and hot, and everybody wanted to be on the water that day. And we pulled that main channel, and we were getting swamped. We had waves coming in the front of the boat, which one helped destroy that trolling motor because there was a bad wire under it. So that's what happened. But there was like 15 wake boats 3 foot from each other doing circles around everybody, just waving everyone out. It's just a parade of old rich people that were running through, waving and waking everybody. But we ended up getting some good fish, and that was the first time a boy out of like I think 60 something foot of water off of a submerged
80
bridge.
Foot. 80 foot.
Sorry, 80 foot submerged bridge. Rod goes down, and he's like, "Oh, it's good. It's not that big though. It's not that big." I said, "Wait a second. You're pulling him out of 80 foot of water. Just give it a minute." And next thing I know, I see whoop, pow, snap the line. I guess that fish halfway up said, "No, my man, I'm going back down," and he went back down.
Now, I blame myself for that for a couple of reasons. One, my drag was set to terminate, so there was no give with that. And he's not lying. It had to have been no more than maybe 10, 12 feet deep when it finally decided to wake up, and it snapped 50-pound leader clean right in the middle of it. Now, it's funny because every time we're around people, Matt brings that up, and karma has come back to bite him 2, maybe 3 times now because he keeps bringing it up, and he still hasn't figured it out. If he keeps bringing it up, it's going to keep happening. Both times would have been fish that would have at minimum put us in the top 10, at minimum, and one I'm convinced would have been easy top 3. Big fish.
Is this the one where I was fishing in my boxers, or the last one we fished together?
Not the last one where you got really upset. You're like, "You're not broken." I was like, "Man, I didn't tie that leader. You tied that leader."
I did.
He was so upset. He tried to blame me immediately for it. So shame.
I did, and I feel bad. I feel bad because as soon as I sat down and see what rod it was on, I just went silent because I knew it was me. And I think I offered to give him my boat at that point.
Well, no, he says that every time he has a rough day of fishing. He's like, "You know what? I'm selling my boat. You can have it. I don't want to catfish no more. I'm going to chase crappie or something."
And I will tell you, both of those fish, I could not gain ground on. Like the first one, he's like, "Oh, that's a snag," and then all of a sudden, he watched the tip go like this, go whoop whoop whoop, and then he just quiet. You just hear he just stops talking. He's just like, "Whoop." Next thing I know, I see the head roll, pops right out.
that's one of the interesting things about me and Matt's dynamic. Personality and just the way that we approach fishing, polar opposites, complete polar opposites. I do not get excited over anything. Until it's in the net, you will never hear me get excited. Now, like he said, if I see that it is a big fish or something noteworthy, I stop talking because I'm so focused on netting it because I don't want to be the reason we lose the fish. Now, the other kicker to this too is I fished Matt's tournament with him probably consistently for 2 years. This is the only year I haven't done it consistently with him. It's just because I've been on the road way too much. It's impossible for me to try and keep doing that. But we've been fishing tournaments together ever since that first one, ever since TikTok. In fact, one of our favorite tournaments is the Ice Bowl. And this was, technically speaking, it would have been both of our third. I said technically.
I know.
And so to elaborate on that, it's technically my second one that I fished because the second one that I was with him on, I had a house emergency and I had to leave night of the tournament. Like I stayed at the captain's meeting and then went home. So let's say fishing with Matt is a blast, hands down. I put it to you like this. Matt is the only guy I've ever fished with to where I'm convinced he could hook a 20-pound blue and you would immediately assume it's a state record. Because every time a rod goes down, it's fish, fish, big fish, big fish, every time. It's literally, I go hunting with a buddy of mine named Cody, and it makes me think of him so bad. Like if we're hunting and he sees brown anywhere, he's like, big buck, before he even sees the head, big buck, big buck. Matt is doing that except with fishing. Now, here's the thing. It's never boring that way because you never know until you see if the rod's still bowing or not.
Here's my thing on that. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
You're good. I'm reading the
comments.
comments.
Appreciate whoever said it's fun fishing with me. I cannot see those comments.
That's Hicks.
Oh, Hicks. I will say I still genuinely enjoy fishing. For a while there, I got out of it. Like I got to where like, oh, it's just another 20-pounder. Oh, it's just another 10-pounder. It's a 15-pounder. It's a 30-pounder. You know, it's just searching and searching. But you never know. I've had some of my biggest fish hit super, super light. So, and then halfway through the fight, I'll be like, big fish. And then halfway through the fight, I'm like, oh, it's not that big. It's not that big. But I get to that rod with such enthusiasm and such quickness that I'm going to treat every fish the same until I fully know what I'm dealing with. And then that's whenever I can start playing around or being serious. Because I know, like, if the line is super tight and you just feel that vibration, I know it's a big flathead. Yes, when I'm dragging and I get a couple flatheads, it's a telltale sign. It feels like a stump. The line is vibrating, and it does not fight like a blue. The big blues, big slam, big runs, but the second you turn it, it's a sandbag until it sees the boat. So, yes, my enthusiasm is always there, and I love it. And I believe if you are not excited about fishing, why are we doing this, you know?
Now, don't get that statement confused. I'm just stoic. I don't get excited over anything.
No, yeah. Now, when we put that one in the net during the Ice Bowl, I heard you. And then that one blue rod.
That was a genuine example of me excited because here's the thing. Was that like this monster fish? Absolutely not. But now that's the biggest fish me and Matt together have ever caught. And on top of that, it was during the Ice Bowl, which is one of the biggest tournaments of the year. And given what we knew from last year's was 60-some pounds took on first place. I knew that was a 30-some pound fish. We had a chance if it was going to be a repeat of last year. And so, yeah, I got excited over that. And on top of that, though, you don't see any excitement out of me in that video until the fish is in the net. As soon as the fish is in the net, then I break free. But the biggest thing, too, and this is leading up to what we're going to dive into, because at the end of the day, man, anybody who's out here fishing that's putting themselves in front of the camera, the whole point of all this It's just to have fun. It is just to have fun. There are too many times that I see friendships and everything else get ruined over something petty. And that's more or less the topic that we're going to dive into today. Uh, Me and Matt, now I've been fishing since I was, especially catfishing, since I was at least like 10 or 12 years old. It's something I've always loved to do. But me and Matt have both been officially in the content creator space roughly around the same time. I think, what are we on, 3-4 years now?
Probably going on close to 4.
I'd say closer to 4 years.
3.5. We'll say 3.5.
We'll round up for easy math. 4 years. We both started on TikTok, and we both used to do the whole live thing and everything else. And this is the sad part about this side of the industry. If you put yourself out there and you put yourself on a camera, there's always going to be somebody who has something to say that is not in a positive light. And people will always throw shade one way or another. Me and Matt both don't believe in throwing shade. But at the same time, if you throw shade at us, we do our best to correct you without hurting a feeling. Now, sometimes you just can't do that.
I will say 90% of the time, I will rebuttal the shade. There has been about 10% that I have poked the bear, and I'm not immune to it. My first year and a half, man, I would poke. I'd poke somebody until I realized, man, there's so much more to this industry and this sport. I've got a lot of youth anglers that follow me and follow our brand. And I just sat back and was like, look, man, the youth ain't going to want to carry this on. We're already pretty much in a dying breed here with commercial fishing and everything like that. And if we're sitting here bickering and making it unpleasant, the youth aren't going to keep this up. We're going to be the old guys who are like, I remember when this was a glorious thing, and then now it's nothing. I don't want that. I want to bring it up, and there's a lot of shade that gets thrown, and we'll talk about this whenever he brings the topic fully up. But a lot of it has to do with jealousy. I really do think arrogance and jealousy, man.
Yep. So, and I lean more on the arrogant side. Matt leans more on jealousy. And so, just full frontal for you, the topic of today is more or less what you would consider the drama surrounding the fishing community, the pettiness, the always having something to say about somebody. And you can't open up, if you're in this community, if you're in this catfish community, you cannot open up Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. You can't open anything up without seeing something that day. And it's either content creators versus content creators bashing other companies bashing other companies, and it's just insane. And I've said this before, man, like there are so many people that want to talk about putting the catfish industry on the map and like having it compete with the bass side of things. Brother, you can't do that if you guys are cutting each other's throats left and right. You cannot do it. On top of that, when we talk about arrogance and in some cases, like Matt said, jealousy, just do what makes you happy, man. And don't pay attention to anyone else. I can't tell you, he talked about the youth. I can't tell you how many local guys back home for me that have tried to start themselves a TikTok or a YouTube channel or even a podcast. And they do it for a couple of weeks and, man, they're over it because they just see nothing but drama. It really ruins the sport for a lot of people. And I'll never understand, how do you have so much time in your day to where you are so worried about what someone else is doing instead of focusing on bettering yourself? That's the biggest thing I cannot understand.
My thing is the next time that you open up Facebook or TikTok or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to post something against this. How about instead of doing that, Google your lake, your river system, look at the depth charts, look at all that. Spend the time that you're going to waste your energy doing bashing someone else on reading maps, getting to know what your fish are doing. Look through your photos of last year and be like, well, this time last year I caught X amount of fish in this area, this area, this area. If everyone would do that, you'd become better fishermen. And there are some really good fishermen that push the drama out there like crazy because, you know, they want to stir it up. They like it. I don't get it. And then you got, dude, there's so much on this. It's insane. So that's why I pivoted Just Dragon in the direction of let's focus on the youth.
Well,
because I'm tired of seeing this.
And that's the biggest thing too. And I've talked to some of the quote unquote what you would consider the bigger content creators. And they all say the same thing. The reason that you have people that are still doing this is because the drama is good for business. It's good for views. It's good for clicks. All this. But like Matt's saying, a lot of things that you don't realize, if you are putting yourself on a camera for the world to see and to try and influence the next generation or just make content for whatever your reason is, there are kids watching you, and you are influencing those kids whether you believe it or not. And by getting on there and just airing out dirty laundry, airing out how you feel about something that isn't really even necessarily hurting the industry. And when I'm saying that, I'm referring to like this whole brand versus brand bull crap. It drives me crazy. Now obviously you have the whole Pay Lake conversation. Okay, that's been beat into the ground since I was like 10 years old. Here's the reality. Everyone is aware of it. Everyone jumps on the bandwagon, starts bashing Pay Lakes and all this other crap.
Nobody does anything.
Nobody does anything. Only a handful of people I know have actually done anything to try and mitigate, change, or regulate something that's happening. And especially in that conversation, and I made a YouTube video about it too, I am what some people would consider somewhat a controversial standpoint on the Pay Lake. I don't support trophy Pay Lakes. I never will. I am fine with a farm-raised channel catfish Pay Lake for the elderly, children, and handicapped. Because how else are they ever going to be able to go fish? They can't get on a boat. They can't get to certain bank spots. There's not handicapped fishing piers everywhere. So channel cats, farm race, I have no problem with those guys whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I have worked a lot with the North Carolina wildlife biologists because I was doing taxidermy for a little bit. I would collect the tarsal glands of the deer for CWD testing. So I made a phone call to them and asked them, you know, rules and regulations about commercial fishing and how they treat the fish and what they do after the fish. And North Carolina wildlife literally told me if it is bought from a commercial fisherman, they could put it in a truck and dump it in the middle of a field and watch them all die. And there's nothing they can do about it because technically that is their fish now. Blue cat and flatheads are an invasive species that were introduced into these waters by the government, by the states themselves have introduced it to the fisheries. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes, you know, fishermen will transport blues here and there, but that's not to the extent that we're at now. The states did this, and now the states are like, oh crap, we screwed up some populations here, because when you get flatheads and blues, they're going to eat. They're going to eat. And the main problem on the James River is they're touching those crab. That's what they care about, is those crab.
Well, it's just like I'll give an example of that. So here in West Virginia, there is a lake called Burnsville Lake. And Burnsville is where my catfishing story originated. I was a little kid, and I would catch channel cats in the tailwaters there. Burnsville used to be a fantastic flathead destination. People used to come from all over to fish that lake for flatheads. Fast forward to present day, you almost never hear of anyone catching flatheads out of Burnsville anymore. And the reason being is because, just like Matt said, they got panicked over the population. It was overpopulating versus some other species. So they decided they were going to introduce muskie into the lake. Well, now the muskie population is thriving, but the catfish are few and far between now. They're almost non-existent. And so, what you'll see if you live long enough, you'll see this song and dance between the states and everybody just trying to regulate different species. It comes and goes in waves, and normally it takes a couple decades to see any kind of change either way. Prime example, my river, the Kanawha River, was known for flatheads, still is for the vast majority of it. However, our blue population has took off in the last decade. State record's been broke 3 times, year after year after year. Now, in all for the conservation subject, back on the fishing drama. So, Matt, what are some of the biggest pain points that you see? Let's say you were starting out today, brand new. You didn't know what you know right now. How long would it take before you would just get fed up with it and you would either turn into one of the toxic content creators that just bashes everybody and everything, or you just hung it up?
So here's the thing. If you're in content creation just to make money, you're going to see this. Some companies do it. Some content creators do it. They just do controversial and raunchy and poking the bear. Because you know why? Everyone clicks it and watches it to watch the dumpster fire. Everyone wants to watch a good dumpster fire, but they'll never help you put it out. So if you go that route, good luck coming back. I'm going to tell you, it's just going to take a couple weeks. All you would have to do is buy a certain brand of rod, a certain brand of hooks, a certain brand of tackle, and then post it out. Say, look, oh, let's say I just got me a Catch the Fever rod. You're going to have half the internet going, oh, well, those suck compared to Mad Cats or Ripping Lips or, Catfish Pro. It happens. So all it would take is a purchase and you posting about how happy you were about your brand that you just bought, because maybe it's pretty. Maybe you like the way it looks. Maybe you like the way it feels. But it would just take that first post, like someone go, you're going to have 80% congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. You're going to have that 20% that goes, dude, you should have went with the other one. Way better. And then they're going to tell you horror stories about one or the other. And so it does not take long. And that's what we need to get away from, because here's the thing. Baby Moose, who's my daughter, raised her own money, went and bought her own Mad Cat rods, and she still has them. Every Mad Cat rod that she ever purchased or got gifted to her, she still has them. But it wouldn't take much for a kid to buy a certain rod brand and then go to Facebook and see everyone bashing that to go, oh, I just wasted my money. Yep. And you just crushed a child because you didn't like a brand. That is absolutely insane to me. And you got to think, kids are watching, man. Oh, they're just so happy that they finally were able to get the rod of their dreams. And then someone says, that rod is not good enough. That rod is crap. Go to this rod. That's horrible, guys.
Yep. Well, and let me double down on that really quick, too. So, like Matt said, if you're doing this content creator thing and your whole objective is to make money, so first of all, respectfully, I wish you nothing but the best. Good luck. I hope that you achieve your dreams, but I hope that you're working at the same time, because I promise you, you can't live off dreams. You'll starve to death. There is a reason why when you look at people like myself and you look at people like Matt, like versus other people who may be more consistent than us, we work full-time jobs. We don't do this for money. I never did this for money. I never did this with the intention of blowing up. I never did this with the intention of like, this is going to be my job. I did this because I got sick and tired of seeing fake people in front of a camera and influencing the next generation to do the same thing. I cannot stand the influencers and content creators that put on a facade. Now, here's the reality. Every single one of us does it to some degree, all right? I consider this, at least me, what you see here, this is what you get. This is how I am anytime, anywhere. The only facade you'll see from me is two things. One, just like almost everyone else in the world, I'm depressed, just like everybody. But two, I don't throw my real name out there. I went by an alias for years. So most people, except Matt, all they knew me and still know me as is Curse. They don't even know what my name is. And I don't have
$5. I'll sell his name.
Huh?
I'll sell your name for $5.
Well, I mean, I don't care anymore because unfortunately my professional life and my fishing life are slowly starting to merge, and I can't stop it. But what I'm talking about are the people who get out there and they present false information. They present how you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do. In reality, all that is expected of you is to be yourself. And here's the thing. I know in today's industry, in today's market, world, whatever, I will never blow up. And I'm okay with that. I won't blow up because I refuse to be something I'm not. I refuse to sell my soul for a brand deal or to push out false information. And I refuse to get roped up in all the drama that I see on Facebook and TikTok every single day. People will come to me and say, oh, you should, make a video discussing this or make a video talking about this. Now, if it's something that I feel needs to be addressed, I 100% will. Hence why we're doing this right now. Because the drama is killing the industry. It's making it not fun for everybody. But back on what I was getting at with trying to make money, again, there are only a handful of people that actually get to the point where this becomes their day to day. And while some of those people I still consider fake characters, and that makes me sick to my stomach, there are some that are genuine.
Yep.
And due to trying to stay neutral in this, and Matt's already had this discussion, we won't mention names of anybody. But me and Matt both share the same opinions on a lot of the same people. We deal with these people in the content creator space. We see the positive and the negative. But unfortunately to them, the only thing that vast majority worry about, instead of having fun with their buddies or whatever, because here's the thing, if you're having fun with your buddies and you're doing friendly banter, that's fine. Me and Matt give each other shit all the time. Matt has put me in some insanely uncomfortable situations. Now, it's funny though. We can laugh about it later, but that's the thing. It's real. It's not something that we're doing for clicks. It's not something that we're doing for views. That's just how me and Matt are when we're together. And again, it's really funny because polar opposites on personality. So I went on a rant there, Matt. So what kind of commentary you got?
So I'm going to say sometimes you are disappointed when you meet your heroes. And I say heroes with quotations because that's the easiest saying of it. So you may watch this person on live every single day, watch their content. They could be the whole, hey, I'm the most positive guy in the world. But as soon as that camera turns off, some of them just start bashing. And some of them in person are completely different. I will tell you, there was one time where I met a content creator. He blew up. I'm not even going to say he or she. I've already said he. So first time I met him, just chilling. And after, shaking hands, taking a couple pictures, pictures with me, pictures with them, puts the hood up and goes, wow, I can't walk more than 2 feet without someone stopping me. It's getting annoying. Puts his hood down and starts walking through the crowd trying to hide himself. Buddy, you signed up for this. This is what you wanted. My thing is I'm goofy. All get out, 100%. When you see me on camera and I'm freaking out about a rod, oh, fish, big fish, big fish. That's how I am all the time. Now, tournament mode, I'm different. Half the way through the day, if we don't have a good fish in the boat, man, I'm laser focused. I change. But that's tournament fishing. I don't go live during tournaments, man. I don't. But you got to be careful on who you idolize and who you spend your time and your effort and your money on. Because when you meet them, they may be someone completely different, and then you're going to click like, because if you're like me or Curse here, we would redonate a lot of our gifts, if not all of our gifts that we got on TikTok. So you drop 400, 500, 600, maybe even a couple thousand on someone, and you meet them in person, and they're like, who are you? Oh, hey, hi, how you doing? Oh, well, I gotta go over here real quick. you're just going to realize, like, dang, I literally dropped like a whole month of salary, and this guy won't even give me the time of day.
Yep.
It,
And
it it's bad, but it's the way some people make their money. It's like actors, man. Sometimes you meet your actor, and they're not who you think they are.
and again though, you sign up for that when you put yourself in front of a camera. When you put yourself in front of a camera, you accept the fact that at some point there is a chance someone is going to recognize you in public, and they may really enjoy your content. Now, me personally, I love those moments. I that feeds me a tremendous amount of energy. If I'm feeling down or drained, and I get a random message from somebody, or I run into somebody like, man, I really appreciate your content. All this that means the world to me. That means more than any amount of money, any gift, anything could anybody ever give me. But just like he was mentioning, like the one fella who putting his hood up over his head and pretend. Here's the thing: you're pretending. You're pretending because I know who you are, and I can say this. I'm not going to say your name. You were pretending because there are only a handful of people that do this that are quote unquote a celebrity in anybody's eye. And that goes into what I said. I think the vast majority of this drama stems from is arrogance. That being humble just doesn't exist anymore. I will tell anybody right now, I am not the greatest angler that has ever existed. I'm not going to pretend to. And the other portion of this is at the end of the day, I'm just a dude with a camera, man. That's all I am. I have a camera that I paid for with my money, and I film myself doing things that I like and that I think other people like me will like. And that's the only reason I do it. And if you like it and you feel the need to come up and say hi or whatever, I encourage it. I look forward to it. You will never see me or Matt try to run away or pretend like we're too good to talk to somebody, because the people that are too good to talk to people are too busy or too big and their head can't fit through a door. You are the problem with the industry. And the same people that feel that way are the same people that say this famous quote. And Matt, you've heard this just as many times as I have. The content creator space for catfishing is oversaturated. No.
So here, I do believe there is oversaturation, and I don't even know if that's a freaking word. Oversaturation, it probably is. I sound fancy now. It is, because here's the thing: everyone's pushing out the same content. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's funny. Let me do that."
Yep.
Everyone's doing this and that. I've messaged people and like, "Hey, what'd be funny is if you did this. I was gonna do it, but it's not gonna work out for me. Why don't you try it?" Some people have done it, and with some success. Different things work for different people. Like my TikTok blew up on catching 6-inch fish. Catching 6-inch fish. I went from like,
Stupidest thing I've
I
ever
think,
seen.
4,000 followers to 24,000 followers in like 3 to 5 months, dude. And I was just catching 6-inch fish off the riverbank, being myself, being crazy, being goofy, flipping out. Me and my daughter just having out there having fun. And this is what I'm going to say to anybody starting out, man. Stay off social media. It will ruin it for you, because 90% of people will go out there and buy rod and reel combos, spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, go out there and only catch 10 to 12 pound blue cats. And then they see people down there on Wheeler, Lake Norman, Pickwick, Mississippi, all those where they're pulling in 60s, 80s, 100s. Guys, that's not feasible. That is not feasible at all. Your body of water may not hold those monsters. But here's my thing. Up in Ohio, they can catch 20-pound channel cat. You know what I can't? The biggest channel cat I've ever caught was 11 pounds. And I was like, oh, it's small. And I threw it back. And my buddy's like, dude, that's a freaking monster here in this lake. I said, what are you talking about? It's 11 pounds. I saw like a 50 get caught the other day. No, channel cats, blue cats, flatheads, Susquehanna, flathead nation, man. So stay off social media. Do not let everyone catching these big fish going, oh, I caught another dink and they're holding up a 50, deter you, because their waters do that. And I think someone who holds up a 50 and go, look, I got me a dink again, and throws it back in there is just, throwing them little sucker punches here and there. But for their waters, it may be a dink. Because you go down to Wheeler, Pickwick, and all that down in Alabama, huge reservoir. They got skipjack. They're eating skipjack this big. It's not uncommon for someone that I know that everyone in this industry pretty much knows, will go down there and catch. He lives down there. Will catch 3 to 4 over 100 every single year. He'll pick up 80s, not even weigh it and throw it back because that's his waterway. Do not get discouraged by social media. If this is what you want to do, fight for it.
Well, that and my biggest thing is just like that. Just have fun, man. Just do what you want to do. Don't pay attention to what anybody else is doing. Prime example, it doesn't matter what body of water you're from. A trophy is a trophy to you. It's no different than a deer hunter. A trophy is a trophy. There are too many people who get caught up with all the weights and everything else. And at the end of the day, here's the reality. Like my stretch of river, what would be considered a good fish is roughly around a 30-pound fish is a good fish. That's a fish that you want during a tournament. That's a fish that you'd be happy to have. Our state record, like I said, it takes 70 pounds to break the state record right now. But at least all the anglers that I know here locally that tried to be a content creator and then unfortunately the drama drove them away, they don't bash other people. You get nothing out of bashing other people, man. Now again, friendly banter is different. If you know the guy and you two cut up, like fine, whatever. I give Matt a hard time all the time, especially because he says he's in the 50-pound club.
Okay, 50.3 something. It was 52.36 in the net. And we took the poll.
He's 49-pound club is what he's in.
No, it is not. I have the video, and I'll shoot you the video. I swear to you, if it was, it's like 50.03. I promise you.
I just give him a hard time every chance I get.
Does.
You got to remember, he brings up the fact that I lost that fish every chance he gets. So, and
here's my thing, right?
Prime example, what I just said, friendly banter.
That hurt my feelings.
I'll get over it. Me and Matt just give each other shit. That's different.
We really do. So here's my thing, right? I got a buddy who didn't really catch too many big fish. He actually started following me from way back in the day. I was working the Mad Cat open house. He showed up there. He was like, well, what do you recommend? I recommended a couple rods. He bought them. And he was like, what do you recommend? I recommended some reels. He bought them. What fish finder? What trolling motor? He literally has pretty much the same exact setup that I had when I first started out. This year, he's been pretty much my majority tournament partner. Curse still gives me crap for that. But he's been traveling. Curse has been on the road for like 4 weeks straight right now. But, the first fish of this year, for me was 47 pounds, and I was ecstatic. Some people were like, bashing me because how excited I was. Even Dieter Melhorn posted out like, y'all need to get some excitement like this. I go crazy. I kiss the fish. I'm yeah, baby. And dude, just to see the shock in his eyes when that fish hit the deck, he was just like, he couldn't talk. And I was like, what's going on? He goes, I've never seen a fish that big in person. So then he goes out the next tournament, he breaks his PB, and then he goes on a tangent for like 2 weeks straight, breaking PB after PB. This man is in the 63-pound club right now. And I absolutely love it because, he leaned on me so much in the beginning and soaked up everything like a sponge. And he's just out there doing it now. And I love it. I love being able to say that. And he suffers, from PTSD. So fishing is his big escape. And I love situations like that. I love being in the middle of a tournament. Curse will see it. We'll be in there. And all of a sudden they'll be coming by a boat. Just dragging. What's up? It's fun. It really is. And it's really nice to see there is good sides of this. Whenever I get youth anglers and they're like, oh, he'd love for you, to come out and come fishing with us. I was like, why don't you do this? Why don't you hop on the dragon wagon and let's go? Just seeing the youth anglers' faces light up with that. And the parents get excited too. The parents, whenever I get anybody on the boat and I can hand them a rod and their PB is on it and I get to see their reactions, I absolutely love that. I handed over so many PBs last year. Heck, even last year I handed over my PB flathead, which I kicked myself in the butt for because I would have been really close to the 40-pound club for a flathead. But now I'm still just sitting right above freaking 30. And that one is 30. It's actually a little bit over 30. And I did it with fish grippers. So try me. Ain't no net, ain't nothing like that.
I never questioned your flathead record.
You can't question. Oh my God. Oh, pow, pow, pow.
Well, look, so it's a little different for me. So I've been part of the 50-pound club for a few years, but mine are because they're straight scale. And I also caught them out of a 10-foot piece of plastic. So that's a little bit of a flex. But the biggest thing too, like we talked a lot about the negative, and we're going to start working towards the positive as we start to wrap this up a little bit. Like Matt said, it's not all negative. I do see good stuff out there. Prime example, man, like if you go to when me and Matt go to the Lake Norman Trail, or when we go to the Ice Bowl, especially the Ice Bowl. The Ice Bowl, we're talking people that we only see like once a year if we're lucky. And it doesn't matter what rod brand, it don't matter what hooks, it don't matter what planer boards, we're all friends. And we all cut up, in fact, I give you the prime example. Ice Bowl this year stayed in an Airbnb with Matt and a bunch of Matt's team. There was me and one other Mad Cat guy there. The rest of Matt's team are all catch the fever. Guess what? We had a great freaking time. It was awesome. Loved every second of it. I think and there are other guys I met at the tournament for the Ice Bowl that, I just hadn't really talked to. I knew of them, but I talked to them. And I think if we got a little bit more like that, we would all just get along peachy keen. We'd be just fine. Too many times people get caught up in all the BS. In fact, especially when we talk about the whole rod side of things, man, there was a whole era called the Rod Wars. It was dedicated to it, where it was just these companies going at each other's throats. And let me rephrase that. Not the companies. The people buying the rods. And at the end of the day, and I can tell you this from personal experience, at the end of the day, I guarantee you whoever owns that rod company is not calling and checking on you every week. I guarantee you they don't call on your birthday. They don't call and shoot the shit with you. At the end of the day, you're there to buy their product and they appreciate the business, but that's where it ends. You can have loyalty to a brand and I will never fault you for it. I'll give you the perfect example. The Chris, first podcast guest ever, the owner of Catfish Clothing. I've been running with that cat for it's almost a decade now, close to it. I knew Chris before I ever became the quote unquote pro staff with him. And now if you ask me like, well, you're pro staff with Chris. Yeah, I'm pro staff with Chris, but Chris is my buddy. Chris calls and shoots the shit with me. We check on each other every now and again. That's what I think a lot of these companies are kind of missing. You lose that personal interaction with people, then it takes a hit. Now, I understand that at the end of the day, you're here to run a business. You can't have personal interaction with everybody. But I don't know. I guess the biggest thing I'm getting at with that, I can't say enough good things about Chris, man. He's been really good to me. And he's really taught me a lot, especially in this side of the industry. When I first started, I tried to see the good in everybody. And Chris was always real with me. And I will always appreciate everything he's ever done for me. So I'll just put that out there.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said, right? It is the consumers that do a lot of this. And I
for no reason.
personally, and here's the thing, like when I first started, I used certain brand. And when I made that switch, man, it just, the floodgates opened to the punches left and right. And, I made the change for personal reasons. And it sucks to say I lost people that I had been talking to for 2.5 years, where we would talk almost daily, to where it's gone. Now, don't get me wrong. The real ones stay. The real ones, we still talk. Maybe not as often, but we still talk. We still, shoot the shit and converse back and forth. But you know, it's insane that the consumers are what is doing this, and the companies are what's thriving on it. I do have a company of my own. We do not thrive on that. I don't allow my staff to be negative. Um, or anything like that. You'll have some people, that are say they're super positive, but behind the scenes they're bashing and bashing and poking and saying some horrible things. But I will tell you, everything comes to light. We've all seen it. It all comes to light. We
Yep.
all talk. Don't get me wrong. We all talk. Everybody talks. I have the personal numbers of most of the company owners around there, and I'm pretty sure Curse does too. I almost called you your name. Pretty sure that Curse does too. All these brands, they're intertwined. They talk at some point. I mean, they really do. And if you want to fish with this rod versus that rod, this hook versus that hook, do it. Do it. You don't have to be that guy that hates on everyone who doesn't. Now, back into the positivity things, we need to start going this to positive, because we can go down the wormhole of negative.
Yeah, this will end up being a 2.5 hour long podcast about nothing but Debbie Downer syndrome.
Yes, I reached out to Caleb with Catch Fever, and he actually jumped on board with our monthly thing. Just Dragon is now giving away, a couple bait fishing kits from us, a bait fishing kit from one of my staffers, and then a precision cast crappie rod every single month to youth anglers. All you have to do is post a picture. Just be out there. I don't care what you're catching. And it's a crappie rod, because that could be used to catch anything. Alligators, seen it happen. Bluegill, white perch, crappie, bass, catfish. So I want a multi-versatile rod and give that away. So that's one thing that we're doing for the youth, is we're just doing it. Just post us pictures of you out there having fun. And you can find that on my Facebook page. It's obviously the same name. It's just Dragon. But that's one big thing that I want to do. I know I say youth all the time, but this sport's going to die if we continue driving it how we're driving it. We gained traction for a while, and I think we're backsliding.
Yeah, no, I think we're regressing because we're getting too caught up in the drama. Back on positive, like I said, I don't want to address things unless I feel it needs addressed, and I did feel like this finally needed to be addressed. I was tired of putting low, subtle hints in all my other podcast episodes. But prime example, so obviously with Curse Bank catfishing, when I first started, I made my own apparel, I made all kinds of stuff, and a lot of people assumed that like I sold it. I never sold anything. In fact, I gave the vast majority of it away. And even in present day, every year I do my best to give back to the local community. I drive my truck around, I tape a sign on the back of my truck, and it says honk for free fishing gear. And all you got to do is, if you see me driving with it, honk. I'll drop my tailgate. You'll find everything from bass rods, crappie rods, catfish rods, hooks, terminal tackle, Plano boxes, soft plastics, you name it. It's also what I consider my yearly purge, because I hoard fishing equipment. And all I do is I literally drive around the bank spots and I look for kids or an old timer or somebody who's sitting there fishing, and I'll pull up and say, man, you want to take a look back at the truck? They'll walk and their jaw hits the floor, because they're like, well, I can't pay you for this. I don't want you to pay me for this. The only thing I want is you to pay it forward. Be kind to the next person that you come across. If I give you something, well, maybe later on down the road, you can give something back to someone else. And I think, again, that's the positive that I do see. And there are a lot of companies that do try to give back to their consumers. Matt's is a prime example of it. It's not just about making a buck at the end of the day. It's about trying to build the industry as a community, not create some type of civil war in between.
I'll bite my tongue on that one a little bit.
Yeah. That's all good. Now, so we've only got about 5 minutes running. We've got a handful of people sitting here watching right now. So if you're here and you got a question for me or Matt, now's the time to go ahead and do it. At the same time, Matt, this is the time for you to go ahead and plug your company, anywhere people can find you, and what you'd like to see different in the industry. We got 5 minutes.
I mean, so here's the thing. Difference in the industry, I just want to see development and growth, and stop clicking up. It's high school, man. Let's not do that. We're all adults. Let's be adults. Some of the kids are more subtle and more mature than a lot of us. So let's all take a playbook out of the youth anglers and just start having fun again. Obviously, just Dragon. We have Dragon weights. We have monofilament. We're coming out with a lot of new things. We got rain gear coming out. And don't get me wrong, I work with a lot of companies like Wet Outdoor Gear. I work with them. I am a brand ambassador for them. Alpha boards, absolutely love them. Loved my spread and planer boards too. Wesley Mann's a great dude. I just needed storage on my boat, so I went with Alpha boards. My rods of choice are Catch the Fever. They made fishing fun again, and someone that recently had fished with me had a blue rod slam so hard. I swear that person was a child again on that one, because it's fun rod. It's a fun rod. Just go back to why you got into this, for the love of it. I mean, things get muddy when money gets involved. Just go back to having fun, guys.
Yep, that's the biggest thing. So, Matt, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I also have a website, justdragon.com. It's spelled just like this. And I should have made it a little bit easier to spell, because people will be like, just dragon, just dragging. Yeah.
I'm sure that can end up in some very unsavory websites if you're not careful.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful on that. But yeah, I mean, so that's like where you can mainly find me. And if you guys want to, reach out. There's not a time that someone doesn't hit my inbox that I don't respond and talk to. If you need advice, go ahead, ask. After the Ice Bowl, man, I had so many people hitting me up asking me for my settings on my Humminbird, because they saw some of our returns and they were amazing. So I had a guy message me, and he went and did a tournament on him on some of my settings. I told him he's gonna have to play around. He's on a more shallow body of water, but I gave him the majority of the settings, and he says, I can actually see when a fish is under my boat now. And I'm like, that's all it's about. Now start slowly playing with it. Just don't be afraid to message, man. Do not be afraid to message. I mean, comment on a post. I don't really respond to posts a lot, but if you get me on like Messenger, and a lot of y'all have my phone number. I mean, it's not hard to find.
So now, with that being said, I'll double down with that before we close out. Did you have something, Matt, or was you going to say something else?
No, I was just playing.
Okay. Matt's ADHD is kicking in. But
this is why I cannot anchor fish.
But just like Matt said, and the same goes for me. I've had people ask everything from tips to bank spots to what my rigs and stuff are. We're always more than happy to help. You can find me everywhere wherever you're watching this is one of them. But I wanted to go ahead and put another plug out really quick. This podcast is completely different from the normal content I produce, the long form content I produce. This podcast is designed as a portal for anybody, and I mean anybody, to step up on the stage and have a conversation with me. You can talk about anything you want to. It doesn't matter. As long as you're not going to throw shade or bash somebody else, all are welcome here. So if you decide that you want to have a spot on here, just comment on this post, send me a DM on social media, wherever it may be, or reach out to Matt or whoever knows me, and they'll get in touch with me, and we'll take care of it from there. I want this to be accessible for everybody. There are too many podcasts out there where you just see the same people over and over and over again. And on top of that, nobody wants to see me in a talking head video over and over and over and over and over again. I also don't want to make those over and over again. But I will still make them. But my goal with this is to try to have a guest on at least once a month, preferably 2 to 3 times a month. And Matt is, I don't remember what guest number he is. It's kind of bad because Matt probably should have been in the top 3. But at the same time, Matt had a podcast, and I wasn't ever a guest on his either.
So here's the thing, right? I tried it. I didn't like how I was doing the podcast. I was doing like long form videos. I wasn't doing back and forth banter like this. It was mainly on fishing trips, and it's hard to do on fishing trips because you're focusing on everything else. So, I went about it the wrong way. Will I bring that back? Probably not. I probably won't be bringing that back. It's just not something I'm into. I'm not into the podcasting thing. I love that he requested me, and I love this because I was like, wait, I should have been on your podcast by now. I don't mind being a guest. Running a podcast ain't for me, and not every part of social media is going to be from somebody. It's not. This is not my part of content creation. I'll be a guest, but I cannot run them.
Hey, for what it's worth, guys, we did actually have intentions of filming like the first ever in-person guest podcast episode at the Ice Bowl. But between running, getting bait, and that me and Matt will probably do another podcast just explaining the chaos of this year's Ice Bowl, because it was a trip. And when I say that, I mean multiple trips back and forth to the gas station.
2 gallons at a time, baby.
Yeah, 2 gallons at a time.
And a lot of frustration from me.
With that being said, we'll probably do that. In fact, I'll tell you who's somebody, Matt, we ought to try and get on this. And just because, although mine and his personalities clash, just like mine and yours, I think he would be very entertaining if I could get him to start talking. Do you want to take a guess who that is?
Was it from the Ice Bowl?
I'll give you one hint. Rod Hawk.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Win 10.
Mm-hmm. I say because I want to do an episode where there's 4 of us on here. So we get him and one other, and I got to find one other. And I think that'll be good. And that's the thing, too. If you're watching this, just because it's live doesn't mean it disappears when we're done. It stays on my channel forever, and people can still comment on it. So if you are watching this and you want to see the 4 group back-to-back conversation, we can 100% make that happen. Now, fair warning, I will not. I won't say that. I'll bite my tongue on that one. But we're at an hour and 2 minutes, which I try to keep the live sessions normally right at an hour. So, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Online. Matt, any closing remarks before I shut her down?
No, I think we said everything we needed to say. Just get back to the basics and have fun.
Have fun. That's the biggest thing. So, with that being said, that's this episode on the line. Stay bench, y'all, and we'll see you on the next one.
Wait, you're not in this.